Hey folks, Tim here again from Rockout Videography with episode 3 of our Minecraft Starship series. So, first of all, if you haven't watched episode 1 and episode 2, I suggest you go back and watch those. Episode 1 is an overview. It explains kind of like the inspiration behind what we're doing, why we're doing it, and it gives an overview of all the decks of this ship. This is not a Starfleet or Star Trek ship, although this entire project is very heavily influenced and inspired by Star Trek. But there's also stuff in here that's going to be from other sci-fi genres or universes, whatever you want to call it. So, first of all, audio. The audio is better. I figured out how to get a shotgun mic connected to the PS4 controller. And if you look right there is a video in our Tech Tips playlist that you can look at if you would like to be able to do the same thing. So we got that figured out. Also, we're going to do an overview of some of the progress that we've made and a couple of major changes that have had to occur. But as it says in the title, basically this is mostly about Deck 1, the main bridge. And there it is from the outside, Deck 1. As you can see, we have started to put the hull plating on the ship. Samuel's been designing that. And what is the hull plating made out of? Well, it's made out of unbrachium. And what is unbrachium? It is a magical sci-fi bullshit material. What's it made out of? Well, it's made out of... I don't know. I don't know what it's made out of. I guess it's made out of probably neutronium, unobtainium, and imagination. So there's an overview. There's windows on the side. We're looking at the back now of Deck 1. And you're going to see windows right here from the conference room. All right? So we've been getting all of the crew quarters finished on Decks 2 and 3. And you can see how these are all laid out here. So let's head down. We'll go through the main vertical turbo lift transport tube system, and we'll take a look at the inside of Deck 1, the main bridge. Here we go. So one of the changes, we'll talk about it more in detail, is the main vertical turbo lift transport tube system. Let's head on up. And here you go. Here's Deck 1, the main bridge. Again, heavily inspired and influenced by Star Trek. So one of the changes that we had to make is the paintings look really cool in this texture pack. But we actually ran into a limit. And we were not even obviously close to finish with this project yet. So we had to come up with an alternative for display panels. So we found 3 different blocks that look pretty cool. This block right here, I forget which ones they are. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's the Mass Effect texture pack. But it closely matches the lecterns, which we're using as control panels on a lot of stuff. So there you go. That is, I believe, a jack-o'-lantern. And I can't remember what that is. It might be a crate or something. And I think this is jukebox, and there's something else. But the issue with that is that now that we're using an actual block, everything around it has to be covered. Whereas with the paintings, you could just slap them on there. It's pretty cool. There are a lot of good ones. And if you again, if you go back and look at episode 1, we talk about that. So let's get a view of the main bridge from the front. Right? So here you've got your Hellman navigation controls, the captain's chair. In the back here, you've got stations for stuff like it could be communications and engineering. And then, you know, if this were the Enterprise D, would be where Worf would be at. So here we could have security, ops, sensors, all that kind of stuff. All right, and then here is the main view screen. So let's do a cool editing trick right here. Let's pretend like I'm reaching down and I'm touching some controls, and hey, there you go. The main view screen is on. It's got a view of the front of the ship. Cool. And of course you would be able to like zoom in, right? Zoom in some more. You'd have different views. You could get like a side view. You could get a view of looking down, and I suppose you could even watch music videos. Pretty cool, huh? Neat editing trick. Anyways, turn that off. And there we go. We're back to the main view screen again. All right. So you'll notice that there's two doorways on the main bridge. Let's take a look in this one first. This is the captain's ready room, or office. So there's a couch, end table, chairs for people to talk to the captain. He's got his desk here. You've got control panels. So the captain can do whatever it is captains do with computers and control panels. And then if the captain needs to take a break, if he needs to stay close to the bridge, in case of an emergency, he can grab some Z's. There's a bunk here, a little bit of storage, and the captain has his own private bathroom. Right? All right, there you go. Captain's ready room. You can see we're using composter for the sink. All right, so if you go through this hallway, if you go up here, this leads to the back to the conference room, and there is a bathroom and storage, right? So due to enlarging the turbo lift transport tube system, we had to do some redesign here. So there's another bathroom for the crew to use. That's one of the things that they never show in Star Trek. I think Babylon 5 is like the only show I've ever seen where they actually showed people in the bathroom. And here is the main conference room. So it is accessible from the turbo lift transport tube system. There's a big view screen here where people can do presentations. And here's a view out the main window to the back of the ship. And of course, here is you're going to see this throughout a lot of the ship. There's a sink, counter space, a replicator, and a refrigerator. Why would you have refrigerators if you've already got replicators? Well, I don't know. Maybe you get yourself something and you only drink half your soda, and instead of throwing it away, you put it in the fridge. Just seems wasteful not to have refrigerators. We'll talk more about kitchens when we get into crew quarters and some of the other decks. So there you go. Pretty short, right? That's your crew quarters. Main deck, deck 1. All right, so let's talk about the transport tube system. There's a block I need to get rid of later. So originally, if you watch the earlier episodes, this was only one capsule wide. And we got to thinking about it, and it doesn't make sense that you would only have like a standard elevator shaft like we're used to in buildings. Like in Star Trek, whenever somebody opens up the door to the main bridge to the turbo lift, there's always a capsule waiting, and they get in it. But then how does another capsule get up if, right, there's only one vertical shaft? So you have to have room for transport tube capsules to be able to pass each other back and forth. And since this is the main vertical shaft that goes all the way down to the bottom of the ship, they're going to have to pass each other. So then that led to thinking about other problems. There's deck 2, deck 3, deck 4, as you can see from the top, right? It's one capsule wide again. So what we're going to have to do here on deck 5, which is the main engineering and utilities of the ship, is we're going to have to widen this one out. And that is going to cause an issue with some of the stuff that we've already done. In the last episode, we talked about the maintenance offices. Well, I've laid out some blocks here to show how far the main horizontal shaft is going to go. And it's going to end up wiping out all this stuff. So this stuff will all get rebuilt, and this room will end up being narrower or smaller. Right? This is our main maintenance. And I will show you something that is going to totally change, and that is the main security. Because again, it's gonna destroy all of this. So main security had, or has, but will no longer have in the same spot, a teleporter transporter room. So that if somebody was extremely violent, you could just teleport or transport them directly to the security area. And there was a entrance, and there still will be when we redesign this to the transport tube turbolift system. But the idea was there's a vestibule. There needs to be scanners in here to scan for weapons. And this was the main security offices. So originally there were cells over here. But when we decided that we needed more transport tube turbolift system to go around the ship, we ended up having to knock all that out. So this is all going to get redesigned. And I think I'm going to use, instead of this tan block, I think we're going to use hull metal, because that makes sense, right? Your security area should be super secure. It should be made out of unbreakium. But this was the main security office where you'd be able to look at different monitors. There's a break room back here. There's officer storage space here. A couple of bathrooms. Office for the chief of security. And we imagined that this would end up being probably the main armory. And again, show you one last thing. Main hallway, there was a small med lab as part of security, so that if you had a prisoner who was an escape risk or whatever, you don't have to take them out of the security area to the main med lab if they need treatment. You could do it all in here. That's generally how it is in prisons and jails. Ask me how I know that. I'm not going to tell you, but I know. And then over here, we're going to have to build the new bathroom and break area for auxiliary control, which we'll talk about when we actually do a proper tour of this level. But this whole thing here where we've widened our turbolift transport tube system, this main vertical corridor, this has caused us to have to do some remodeling. We finished deck 1. We had to redo the captain's quarters, and we had to take out a bathroom and kind of mess around with that main conference room in order to get all this to fit. And it goes all the way down. So, I guess that's it for this episode, a pretty short one. Talk about, well, we'll just show some of the progress that we've made since the last one, since we're here recording video. This would be deck 3. We created a arboretum, I suppose you could call it. Samuel, again, as I've stated in earlier episodes, my son Samuel, he takes my ideas and he blows them up and makes them really cool. So, skylight. Stairway up. And you can see we've done a little bit more work on the main engineering area. Still a lot of work to do. Off the back of main engineering, this framework right here, this area is going to eventually be the main shuttle bay. So there you go. That's episode 3, deck 1, main bridge, and associated changes and other stuff. So I hope you liked the episode. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the notification bell. You can subscribe to our channel. We'd appreciate that. We do a lot of stuff. This channel's main focus is audio, video production, and music, but we do, of course, we do gaming videos. We're doing easy cooking videos on the channel, and we are posting at least once a week. You can also follow us on Rumble and on Facebook, where we post about new stuff that's going on. There's always news to put on Facebook. And if you'd really like to help us out, you could consider becoming one of our patrons on our Patreon channel. The more resources and time that we have, the more we can do cool stuff to entertain and inform you guys. So there you have it. All right. Thanks a lot for watching, and thank you very much.